So today we get the death of Prince. I mean, how fitting we get the death of Prince on Queen Elizabeth II's 90th birthday. I mean, just a fitting day for a prince to die. And the thing that's messed up is that I've been talking about this stuff in multiple videos, multiple blog posts in the last few months or whatever. Even goes back before that. I've been talking about the death of Queen Elizabeth for over a year. But Prince's death is absolutely connected to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, among other things. So I've been mentioning how a Cavalier is a follower of King Charles I in the English Civil War. He was executed in 1649, and in 1651 was when the English Civil War came to an end. His son, King Charles II, was banished to France. If Queen Elizabeth dies, her son Prince Charles will become the new king. He will be King Charles III. I've also been saying if he does become the king, I don't think that he's going to live very long. But also, he might not even live to be the king, you know? Maybe he's going to die before Queen Elizabeth. I've just been mentioning a lot of this. It all connects to the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's even been a lot of North Carolina death in sports. Clemson, and then UNC, also the Carolina Panthers. Carolinas are named after King Charles I. Anyway, in Gematria, Cleveland Cavaliers equals 168, just like Queen Elizabeth II. I also talked about this clear back in regards to the Mets, the Kansas City Royals. Obviously, the Royals, there's a lot of connections. The Royals play at Kauffman Stadium that equals 168 even. But New York Mets equal 168. It was the 111th World Series that ended on the on November 1st, 11/1. Queen Elizabeth her birthday is normally the 111th day of the year. Today it's a leap year, so it was the 112th day. We had the 111th World Series that even came to an end on 11-1. Matt Harvey was the reason that they lost in Game 5 even. And he wanted to stay at the game, and they took him out after he threw 111 pitches. Just ridiculous. But also, if you write out Prince Charles dies, it equals 168. I've even mentioned the 168 in regard to Kanye West singing the Queen song at Glastonbury last year, but I'm not going to go into that. But I just want to point out, it goes back to when he got up on stage at the VMAs with Taylor Swift and Beyonce Knowles. Beyonce Knowles equals 168. Taylor Swift also equals 168. So in all my previous posts in regards to the Cavaliers, I've been recently talking about in Gematria, Cleveland Cavaliers win NBA Finals 2016. Adds up to 197. I've also wondered about the 923 being good or bad for the Cavaliers, because LeBron James shot 9 of 23 twice this year. Kyrie Irving also shot 9 of 23. Last year, Steph Curry and also Klay Thompson shot 9 of 23. And they did it on really significant games. Kyrie Irving also did last year, 146 days before the NBA Finals. This year he shot 9 of 23, 146 days after LeBron shot 9 of 23. But I think that the 9 of 23 last year was good for the Warriors, and that's part of the reason that they won the NBA Finals. Anyway, I wrote out 923. It's actually supposed to be 923, good for Cavaliers, that equals 197. Just like Cleveland Cavaliers win NBA Finals 2016. So interesting that they would both add up to 197. And one of the reasons that 923 is so important, LeBron James in Jewish Gematria equals 923. Let's write it out here really quick. LeBron James equals 923. He also equals 114. When he shot 9 of 23 this year was on November 4th. A lot like 114, 11-4. LeBron, last year there was a Philadelphia Amtrak derailment that happened at 9:23 p.m. Pope Francis came to the White House last year, or he came to America on his 923rd day as Pope. He went to the White House the next day on 9:23 at 9:23 in the morning even. It was the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. So 9:23, super special. In regards to the Philadelphia Amtrak derailment at 9:23, LeBron James was in the movie Trainwreck. If you write out the word Trainwreck equals 122 in Gematria, just like if you write out Pope Francis. So a complete connection. In that movie, they even are fans of the New York Mets. They hate the Yankees. They're also fans of the New York Knicks. But I want to point that out just in regards to the New York Mets equals 168, just like Cleveland Cavaliers. So anyway, in regards to this 197, Game 1 against the Pistons this year in the playoffs, the total score was 207. If you write out 207, it equals 197. In Game 2, the score totaled up to 197. Also interesting that the Cavaliers had 107 points. If you write out King Charles in Gematria, King Charles equals 107. Some other interesting 197s. Super Bowl 50 equals 197. Michael Joseph Jackson. He's the king of pop. His full name equals 197. In the Super Bowl, they even had the tribute to Michael Jackson with Beyonce wearing the same outfit with the X. She did the whole Black Panther stuff. I talked about the Super Bowl being coded to Super Bowl 20, where the Chicago Bears won. It was Super Bowl XX. Malcolm X, the leader of the Black Panther, or Huey P. Newton, the founder of the Black Panthers, but Malcolm X in regards to the Black Panthers and whatnot. Malcolm equals 24. X is the 24th letter. Malcolm X's real last name was Little. Little equals 24 in Gematria. The Denver Broncos won 24-10. 10 in Roman numerals is even an X. Even the X-Files made a comeback, and they came back on the 24th day of the year this year. So more to it than that. Just want to get the point across so anybody who's new can somewhat understand what I'm talking about. I'll leave a link to show you how to Gematria as well, so you understand how I'm coming up with these numbers. It's very simple. Use the same method every time. Anyway, if you write out the word Prince, like Prince just died today, Prince equals 197 in Jewish Gematria. Believe it or not. I mean, come on. If you write out the word Charles, like King Charles and Prince Charles, it equals 207. The word that if you write out 207 equals 197. If you write out LeBron, LeBron equals 197 in Jewish Gematria. So I couldn't figure out what all these 197s were all about. Well, there we go. And I even talked clear back in November when LeBron shot 9 of 23. I had talked about how he dressed up as Prince for Halloween. And in this game also, the big deal was that he ripped his sleeves off. LeBron ripped sleeves in Gematria equals 80 and also 215. King Charles III in Gematria equals 80. The 215 I'll talk about here in a second. It really stands out to me because Prince protege Vanity dies at the age of 57. Remember, Prince died at the age of 57. This girl, worked with Prince or whatever. She also died on February 15th at the age of 57. But like I said, I'll talk about this a little bit more later. Anyway, Halloween to the day that this girl died on 2/15, a span of 107 days, right? King Charles equals 107. That's just a typo there. King Charles equals 107. Vanity, she dies age 57. Her real name's Denise Matthews. Denise Matthews in Gematria equals 57. I also thought it was interesting. Her birthday was January 4th. That was the same day that the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Raptors to get their 23-9 record. A lot like September 23rd. In other countries, they write it as 23/9. We're also in the 239th year of the United States until July 4th this year. I talked about the back-to-back theme that they've been running since the All-Star week that I've noticed at least. Drake is from Toronto. Drake wrote a song called Back to Back that was released last year. Russell Westbrook won back-to-back All-Star Game MVPs. Zach LaVine won back-to-back slam dunk contests. There's just been a lot of back-to-back. They say it in every game. Back-to-back turnovers, back-to-back this. Steph Curry's going to win back-to-back MVPs. Kawhi Leonard just won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. Anyway, if you write out back-to-back, it equals 69. Just like Cleveland Cavaliers the small way. Interesting, the Cleveland Cavaliers scored 122 points in that game, though. Golden State equals 122. Pope Francis equals 122. Like I said, Trainwreck equals 122. Vanity also dies on the 46th day of the year. Vanity equals 46 in Gematria. I talked about how it's connected to Super Bowl 50, which was the modern era, the 46th modern era Super Bowl. It was connected to the 1985 Bears that Chicago won. Chicago equals 46. They won 46-10 using the then revolutionary 4-6 defense. I even went on to mention how Prince performed at the halftime show of the Super Bowl 41, but it's the 37th modern era Super Bowl. So Chicago, the small way, equals 37. It was when Peyton Manning played for the Colts and he defeated the Bears. It was his first Super Bowl championship or whatever, first Super Bowl ring. They defeated the Chicago Bears. The total score even added up to 46. And in regards to 46, this doesn't necessarily have to mean anything, but I feel like there is a connection. Kobe Bryant just super connected. Even number 24, he retired this year. Had the most ridiculous 60-point game and all that. I've been following forever. He's a Philadelphia native. Jeff Gordon even retired this year. Jeff Gordon also the number 24. The Warriors didn't lose a game until they were 24-0. And then they lost on 12-12. That even adds up to 24. But anyway, the Lakers beat the Warriors 46 days before Prince dies. And if you go 46 days after Prince dies, it's June 6th, 6-6. The Lakers beat the Warriors on the 66th day of the year. Lakers equals 66. LeBron equals 66. Charles equals 66. King in Jewish Gematria also equals 66. CNN even showed us this tweet of Prince before he died. I am transformed equals 66. He also died 66 days after Vanity died on 2/15. Also, during that Lakers game, Nancy Reagan also died in Los Angeles that same day. She died at the age of 94. Nancy Reagan, the small way, equals 49. Staples Center equals 49. Warriors equal 49. Revelation equals 49. Philadelphia comes from the book of Revelation. The Golden State Warriors originally from Philadelphia. Anyway, Nancy Reagan and other forms of Gematria here. The Big Way, 103. English Gematria, 618. Jewish Gematria, 618, which just stands out because you don't see this happen hardly ever, where it's the same in Jewish and English or any of the other ones, you know? If you write out 618, it equals 199 and also 919. A lot like September 19th, which can be written as 19/9 or 9/19. 199 also the 46th prime number. 9/19, also the 262nd day of the year. I've even mentioned that the 20th president, James Garfield, who was assassinated, he died 79 days after being shot at a train station, which ties into all these Amtrak derailments. But he died on September 19th. It's also a super special day because when Pope Francis made his trip to the United States, he first went to Cuba on 9/19 this year, and then Obama randomly goes to Cuba for the first time in 88 years, the first president in 88 years. But Obama goes to Cuba 6 months and 2 days after 9/19, also 26 weeks and 2 days, just depending on how you look at it. In regards to the Queen, Queen equals 26 and 62 in Gematria. Queen Elizabeth was born in the year 1926. She became queen on 2/6 of 1952. She turned 26 years old in 1952. She was even coronated on 6/2, 62 years ago. This year will be her 63rd. It's also the day that the NBA Finals begin. So lots of 62-26 around her. We've been seeing a lot of double sixes, triple sixes, all kinds of sixes this year. Notice too, 9/19 to the day that Prince died, a span of 215 days. A lot like the day that Vanity died on February 15th. If you write out the word 215, it equals 197. I mean, can you believe that? Another 197. If you write out the word 197, it equals 107, just like King Charles. I mean, the odds of that are ridiculous. Prince even dies 197 days after October 7th, which is a lot like 107, 10-7. So Prince dies at the age of 57, just like Vanity, who dies at the age of 57. Her real name equals 57. If you write out the word 57, it equals 131. If you write out Prince Charles, it equals 131. If you write out 131, it equals 107. Craziness. I've also mentioned a lot of the 57 in regards to the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James even shot 9 of 23 on 11-4, the day that leaves 57 days left until the end of the year. They finished the season with 57 wins. Their very last game of the season, they lost to Detroit. None of the starters played. Jordan McRae, a guy they picked up from the D-League, he was the leading scorer with 36 points. He had set a D-League record earlier in the year for most points in a D-League game, and then that record was broke 57 days later by Russ Smith. Both of them played for the Delaware 87ers, the D-League team that is with the Philadelphia 76ers. Both of them, when they broke the record, they were playing the Canton Charge, the team that is connected to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Both times they lost the games, though. The Canton Charge won both of them games. Also, in regards to 57, just some other interesting 57s I noticed with the Cavs. They lost their 57th game, but look who they lost it to. Toronto, the team that's connected to the All-Star Week, that's connected to the back-to-back. They lost scoring, it was even on the 57th day of the year. So they lost their 57th game on the 57th day of the year. They scored 97 points in their loss. It was 97 days before the NBA Finals began. When they got their 57th win, it was against Atlanta. And this just so happened to have a date numerology of 51. 4 plus 11 plus 20 plus 16 equals 51. The Cleveland Cavaliers, all about the number 51. Cleveland equals 51. Cleveland Cavs equals 51. LeBron James equals 51. They play in Quicken Loans Arena. Quicken Loans equals 51. Cleveland hasn't won a sports championship in 51 years. Also, Obama is the 57th term president. So just something to think about. We've been talking about the assassination of Obama a whole lot. Obama, the 57th term president. Prince Charles turned 67 years old this year. Prince, the singer, was born on June 7th, 6-7. Prince Charles turned 67 this year. On November 14th, if you go from November 14th to the day that Prince, the singer, dies, 5 months, 7 days, a lot like the 57. If you go from Prince's death to Prince Charles' next birthday, his 68th birthday, a span of 207 days. Remember, if you write out 207, it equals 197. Also, if you go from his birthday to Prince's birthday, also a span of 207 days. That's with the end date included, though. And I want to point out that he'll be 68 this year in 2016. Prince Charles equals 68 with the S exception. Pope Francis equals 68 with the S exception. Barack Obama equals 68. Donald John Trump equals 68. So it makes you wonder how all these big famous guys all equal 68 in gematria. In regards to the back-to-back theme, that equals back-to-back equals 69 like Cleveland Cavaliers, Donald Trump is 69 years old right now. His 70th birthday will be the same day that Pope Francis's 1189th day as Pope is, on June 14th, or 14/6, a day I've been talking about a whole lot in regards to Philadelphia. Donald Trump will be 70. It's the 70th season of the NBA. The Republican National Convention is even in Cleveland this year. The Democratic one is in Philadelphia. Anyway, Prince's last album just so happened to be released on 12/12 of 2015. Sticks out because that's the day that the Warriors got their first loss of the season. Also, how interesting that it was 65 days before the death of Vanity. Prince and gematria equals 65, just like Philadelphia the small way. Interesting too, 57 minutes and 59 seconds, not quite 58 minutes. Prince is just barely off of becoming 58 years old. Who knows if that's anything really significant. I just noticed it as I was scrolling here. Prince, though, even dies 6 weeks, 5 days before his birthday. So Prince equals 65, dies 6 weeks, 5 days before his birthday. His last album came out 131 days before he died. Remember, 131, if you write it out, equals 107. Prince Charles equals 131. King Charles equals 107. Also, 4 months, 9 days, Warriors equals 49. Revelation equals 49. Also, what I find interesting is when I came back to look up this album, the date magically changed now. And literally, Wikipedia does this all the time. It's completely run by Freemasons. You can even try to go in and change something, they instantly change it back. It's almost like they want to recreate history and they do everything by the numbers and they make them fit and they even change this stuff. That's why some of the weirdest stuff is even written in here. But interesting, look what they change it to now. January 21st, 121. Revelation equals 121. Warriors equals 121. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And the reason why they supposedly changed it, and they also changed it, if you go in and look, they changed it on February 23rd, 223. The Synagogue of Satan equals 223. Friday the 13th equals 223. The word Masonic in Jewish gematria equals 223. It's the backwards 322, the skull and bones number and whatnot. So, I mean, just ridiculous. They changed it to that. Just wanted to point that out in case you went and looked and said I was making it up. No, I'm not making it up. That's what they originally had. So also Prince Rogers Nelson equals 118 in Gematria. Really sticks out because the Warriors defeated the Cavs on January 18th. They won by 34 points, 34 days after LeBron was 9 of 23. Then, like I said, LeBron shot 9 of 23 on February 5th, 118 days before the NBA Finals. If LeBron wins the Finals this year, he'll be 3-4 in the Finals. If he loses, he'll be 2-5. Both numbers connecting to this 118. The word death in Jewish gematria even equals 118. Prince also was at a Warriors game this year on 3-3, the number associated with death and sacrifice. And they kept making jokes about it, the announcers, saying who would they rather do, watch the Warriors or go to a Prince concert, and blah blah blah. And I think what the reason that Prince was there was he was playing a show the next night on 3-4. I could be wrong. I thought that's what they said though. It's been a while since I watched that game. Anyway, if you go from 3-3 to the day Prince died, a span of 1 month, 18 days, like death, also 49 days, just like Warriors, just like Revelation. Prince's birthday on 6-7 even, 67. Revelation equals 49, 67, and 121. It was also, that game, I guess, was also 3 months, 4 days before Prince's birthday, or what would have been his 58th birthday. So just another 3-4. I've been talking about how I've seen the 34 in association with the 923. The Kansas train derailment was even in, it was in Kansas. Kansas, the 34th state. The last state to join the Union before the Civil War began. Tons of 34 in the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, born on the 43rd day of the year, became president on 3-4. Kansas became a state 34 days before 3-4. The 20th Amendment changed the president from starting on 3-4 to 120, which is a span of 43 days. Lincoln even died 4 years and 3 days after the Civil War began. Anyway, we'll just end it on here. So, we've talked a lot about Batman as well. Donald Trump saying he was Batman and whatnot. Prince wrote the soundtrack for the original Batman movie that came out in 1989. We even had the train wreck in Chester, Pennsylvania that was Train 89. King James equals 89 in Gematria. Religion equals 89. Lots of interesting 89s. It even connects to Taylor Swift, who has the album 1989. Queen Elizabeth was 89 until today when she turned 90. In this movie, though, Jack Nicholson is the Joker. It ties back into the Lakers and whatnot. But Jack Nicholson equals 134, just like King Charles III. I've also just been mentioning this 134 a whole lot in regards to even the movie Money Monster. Tons of other stuff. I've just been seeing it a lot. Batman equals 51, just like all the Cleveland stuff. Obama's 15 years, 51 days younger than Trump. Pope Francis turned 15 in 1951. Queen Victoria, the longest reigning English/British monarch before Queen Elizabeth, surpassed her. She died 51 years, 15 days before Queen Elizabeth became the queen. Philadelphia equals 101 and 65. 1965, of course, 51 years ago. 1915, 101 years ago. So, I mean, there's so much to this. Just, you have to go back and watch my previous videos. There's a lot of information. That's why these videos are so long, and I can make them 4 hours every time. But I don't know if this is actually a sacrifice for the Cavs to win, or if it means that they are the sacrifice. Sacrifice in Gematria equals 46. The Cavs are even in their 46th season, so. Just want to point it out, I've been talking a lot about how I don't think the Cavs are actually going to win. They're just coded to these other things, and then we get the death of Prince. But I could be wrong, It could be that the Cavs are going to kill everybody, so. Have a good one.